And that leads us into a very important conversation we are about to have. The theatre industry in Ghana, the prospects, maybe reflecting from the past and looking how it shall or maybe can influence our future amongst many others. And I'm very excited to have, should I say, a large assembly of some of the most important people in the industry. And the knowledge share that is on this panel, honestly, you need a book and a pen if you're someone that is looking to enter into the theatre arts sector. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to introduce a woman I personally admire. She is the Dean of the School of Performing Arts, my alma mater, I would say in some regard. I'm a proud alumni of the School of Performing Arts. She's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Professor Awo Mana Esiedu. Hello, Prof. Thank you very much for joining us. I think, as well. Thank you. Also joining us, accomplished actor, both on stage, in film, in TV. He is a man that has truly personified what it takes to be an actor, learned his craft, and as well he teaches. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the one and only Ajete Anan. Hello, Ajete. Hi. It's a pleasure to have you here. A man who has truly reinvented to a large extent the theatre scene as well. He's a playwright, I think he dabbles in directing as well, and I definitely known as a play producer, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Lateef Abubakar. Hi, Lateef. Thank you for joining us. Also joining us on Zoom will be George Quay, CEO of Image Bureau, who's also a play producer and an actor, amongst many others. And getting into a conversation about theatre arts, because as someone who's loved the theatre for as long as I can remember, who's had the pleasure of actually even performing in some at the Ifasalaland Drama Studio, it's very passionate to me to see how the theatre industry is sort of evolving, but not at the rate that we would all expect it to be moving. But before we get into it, maybe a bit of a context of the history of the evolution of theatre in Ghana, because how it started from the colonial times through to how it was in pre-independence time to now how it is very, very different. And Prof, you are someone who's teaching currently a class on drama evolution, which I'm hoping to audit at some point in time. Do tell, in a few words, the evolution of theatre in Ghana over the last few years.
But if I may,
Please.
I just want to say that when somebody is an associate professor, then they have gone beyond senior lecturer.
Of course.
So
forgive me.
I think the media has often done that.
Yes,
so
forgive
when
me on that.
somebody's a prof, then
forgive me for that.
That's fine. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you very much for the clarification.
So theatre in Ghana has evolved, as you have said, through many phases. I would say that the roots of our performing arts is really in our traditional forms of performance. Our festivals, our rituals, and so on are the roots of what we now have as contemporary theatre. And moving on from there, in the early 1900s, we had a concert party. That's one of the oldest forms of theatre, believe it or not. Started in 1917, the history books tell us, with Teacher Yale in Takrady, performing skits with music. That's how it all started. Then the trios took over. The books tell us that by the middle of the 70s, there were over 200 concert party troops performing in Ghana with guitar bands and so on. And then the very first written text of theatre was in 1917, again by Kobnasich. And that is the Blinkats. So that's the very first written play. And after that, we had other playwrights, J.B. Dankwa and Ike Fiao, people who are not really theatre people, but they wanted to express their views through the performing arts, and they chose theatre. So that's where it starts. And then it really gets very exciting in the late 50s and early 60s, when people like Effa Sutherland come onto the show, who are really theatre people. Effa Sutherland was not just a playwright like her the predecessors, but she was also a theatre person, a producer. She was interested in performance. So she was very interested in creating the kind of theatre that had its essence in Ghanaian traditions and culture. Because after the Sechis and the J.B. Dankwas, we were really focused on Western forms of drama or theatre. So the school systems introduced Shakespeare, Sheridan, and Brecht, and all manner of Western forms of theatre. So she was interested in creating the kind of theatre that had its essence in Ghanaian traditions and culture. So she went back to what I talked about as the roots of Ghanaian theatre, the traditions. And she picked particularly the storytelling tradition. So Anansesam, as we all know it. So she created a form that we call Anansegro, based on storytelling. So she brought some of the features of storytelling, like the audience participation, a lot of music and dance, into a staged play. So the Marriage of Anansewa really is a prototype of this kind of theatre. Okay, and then others like Matinosu and Yawasari built on that and created more of Anansi stories on stage, but evolving in different ways. And then after them comes Muhammad bin Abdullah, who was interested in an African essence, not just a Ghanaian essence, because he was interested in the Pan-Africanist thing. So he created what he called a Bibigro, I mean, the play of black people or drama of black people. And so he digs deeper into more of our traditional forms, into the festivals, into the ritual. Abdullah is very big on ritual. So if you see some of his plays, there are a lot of ritual scenes in his work. His most recent being the Song of a Pharaoh, which draws from Egypt, so his Pan-Africanist essence. The Fall of Kumbi, dealing with old Ghana, the old Ghana Empire, and so on. So all these goes on. Then we have people like Afuko Jumalgbel, the late, who also created, very versatile. He was very versatile. He created all manner. He dealt a bit with the Anansi stories. He also created new contemporary kinds of theatre, like we have the Prison Graduates, for example, which
staged,
really is a hilarious play about Ghana. I call it snapshots of Ghana, you know, and very, very beautiful. So he was very versatile. He created so many different kinds of drama, and then moving down. And so we have contemporary writers also, Daniela Vieje and the Latif Abubakar's Ebu White, but they're all creating theatre in different ways. Because when we look at Abubakar and Ebu White, for example, I think they're also drawing on the popular traditions of concert party in a modern way. You know, that this inclusion of music and so on. That's really what Ghanaians love. We really are not too keen on the wordy, So I skipped Bill Marshall's The Crows, and there are other people who created plays that were not necessarily thinking too much about our traditional forms of performance, like Bill Marshall, Asiedu Renchi, and others like that. But Ghanaians love that. So last weekend's production of The Crows was kind of like a blend. A bit disappointing for me, but that's what Ghanaians love. So I could go on and on about Ghanaian theatre, but I think I'll stop there. Now, that's just a snapshot.
You touched on one particular play that I know I'd seen, Ajete Anand in Prison Graduates, which you starred in at some point. But what was your earlier introduction into theatre?
Well, I think the point where, you know, Ben Abdullah had established a Bibigro, and that's led me to the National Theatre, where I was brought on board as a guest artist. And for me, it was a learning experience, because these were I had the privilege of meeting those I was seeing on the screen, like the David Dontos, the late Solomon Sampa and co. And it was not just about talent, but how to get to know the scale of theatre without missing the foundation of our traditions and culture. And so for me, it was just schooling. I didn't see it as an opportunity to be popular out there. Yes, I was privileged, but I didn't wrap that in people's faces. I just thought that, look, this may not last forever, and so let me grab all that I need to grab. And that set my foundation.
That's very interesting. Now, I'll come to you, Latif, quickly, and come back to you, Ajete, on being an actor, really, in theatre, as against maybe delving into other forms such as film and TV, and perhaps remuneration on that sort. But, Latif, which one was your first production? Can you remember?
So, Gallery of Comedies.
Was there any initiative or organization at that point in time that was supporting those that were entering into the theatre art space?
No, I don't think.
Has there been any since?
No, but we still don't have that, though. But Gallery of Comedies was, it was a play by Now Nyansapo. I watched at the School of Performing Arts. They did something, and they did a sketch there, and then we decided that, okay, this is so beautiful, it must go on the national scene. So I spoke to them. I was like, no, guys, we can package this well, add up certain things, and then take it to the national scene. So, I mean, that is actually what took us to the national scene. Not for the first time, though, but on my
own
platform.
Like, yeah.
Other than that, we did Romantic Nonsense with Ni Ayi. That's in 2009. It was one of the most popular plays in Ghana. And when I say, in quote, modern theater, when Uncle Bo started, so we did Romantic Nonsense. That was brilliant. Full house at the National Theatre. That's my first major production, the production I invested in. I'm not a theater person. I didn't study theater. I'm a disappointed medical student. But I love theater. I love the arts. Whilst in school in Legon, I'm always at the drama studio. So I love the arts. So after school, after being disappointed, I decided, look, I love this aspect of life. Why don't I move into it? So I spoke with Ni. And I was like, look, you're a writer. You studied at the School of Performing Arts. Let's team up and do something together. And that was the birth of Romantic Nonsense.
Amazing.
Production, yeah.
Now, I'm sure there have been downtimes, days where you probably invested in productions, expected people to come, and then you realized it was not a packed house.
Oh, yes. And, you know,
what was that earliest recollection?
So, I mean, after the first one that we had a full house, we partnered with Joy FM, full house. And it was on Valentine. So Romantic Nonsense was just on time.
It was perfect. Aligned.
So then we did the next production called You May Kiss the Cops.
The name alone.
The name alone.
Perhaps might not instill that much excitement.
So I think that play was actually the point where we decided that the names for the titles are extremely important to the Ghanaian people. So, I mean, after 1,005 auditorium, we now had about close to 50 to 100 people in the 1,005 auditorium. Straightforward. And you know, after that huge success, now when you're planning things, you plan well. Big
so
money.
You
promise
a lot more. So you decided I'll go all out.
Yeah. And I mean, that was the biggest disaster we had in the theater.
How did you recover?
Yes, it took us like 6 years. And I mean, it really helped. Because see, after You May Kiss the Cops, we did Thank God for Idiots. Then we did Judas and Delilah, the second coming of Nkrumah. So at that point, I had to call in a cosmate and then Ajiti Annan to come and rescue me. Rescue in the sense that, look, guys, you have the name out there. I have the vision and some money, but we won't be able to pay you as much as we think we could. So let's team up and build this brand together. And you know, and they listened because they're also passionate about the theater industry and how it could grow. And that's how we began. Slowly, we moved from 300, 500, 700, 1,005. I mean, till we got to in 2016. Our breakthrough actually was in 2016. That's actually when we realized that we have arrived in terms of breaking even within the theater industry.
So you had done a lot of plays after your first success, and we're not even breaking even.
A lot, and it was just you owe. I mean, we've owed this guy so many times. You know, and you need to. The good thing about me, and I always say I thank God for that, was that I was a project management consultant. So after I did my master's in professional courses in project management, so I do training and consulting.
So you take money from here and invest in the project.
And luckily for me, I had a deal with Tigo then in 2011 to train their staff in project management.
So there was a consistent paycheck coming in.
So that is, and anytime I pick that money, they know straight to theater. Wow. Every money moves to theater. Amazing. Every money. So then we agreed that, okay, this is how much we have. Now, how do we move? We can't pay everybody because that money is also not enough to stage a play. The National Theatre itself was taking about 13,000. And then so when you get like 25,000, 30,000 from Tigo, I mean, how much?
Exactly.
So it was really, really difficult times. I mean, of course, there are a lot of things that we've done. And I know we stepped on a lot of toes then because we couldn't pay. We had to pay in pieces, bit by bit. I mean, it would take like 6 months before you can pay.
Wow.
So it was a tough moment. It was really, really, really a tough moment. The defining moment was when Professor Akila Akpasoya asked that we do something on Nkrumah during the 100th anniversary celebration of Nkrumah. And then they decided to sponsor. And I think that particular play really helped. After that play, the government also adopted it as part of the independence anniversary celebration. So they paid some money. So then then Casapreco came into the picture that they want to support us for like 2-3 years. So we signed a long deal. Now we began getting our form back, and then the consistency also attracted other patrons and then sponsors on board.
Now I'll come back to you on the which part works, adaptation or writing originals, because of intellectual property and all those issues that come with it. But let me come to Ajay, because he said a few interesting points about owing you, about you doing it. Has theatre now become like a passion project as against an avenue of making actual revenue?
I still think largely passion drives it for some of us, especially. And the reason why it still is because we've gotten some aspects of it right in terms of being inward looking, letting our culture, really, we can really relate to that. But then where do we move from? What's the next level? I think that, as much as we have the younger generation who are passionate about getting on stage and on the screen, the other element of the skill, the knowledge about theatre itself. And so, for example, basic things like move center left or center right, they don't know where that is. And I think that we need to really catch up in those areas. The skill of how you turn on stage, all these things add certain quality and professionalism of what you're doing, because once we're putting something out there in the age of social media, we're sending a message out there, and people know, oh, this is the quality, and therefore we have to step up and make sure that it's not just about having an opportunity playing a role, but really understanding why you're even playing the role. Even the research that goes into characters that we play. For most people, once you don on the doctor's cloak and have a stethoscope around you, you're transformed into a doctor. But then have you really bothered to find out whether, take a trip to the 37, for example, observe the doctors. There's certain mannerisms, certain very subtle things that runs through all the doctors and nurses that you can imbibe in what you're doing, and therefore, people easily connect with you that, oh, you are embodying your character. And so for me, it's more of what are some of the things, and that's why I'm excited about being in NAFTI, because then it gives you an opportunity to making them responsible for the choices that they're making. It's not just about making money, but that anything you put out there will be consumed, and it is also shaping our vision or not aligning with where we're headed towards. And so, yes, to a large extent, passion drives it for me.
What's the lowest amount you've ever been paid to perform on stage?
The lowest amount.
Say it.
Oh, nothing. It was nothing. It was zero. That's the lowest.
Wait. So you went to rehearsals multiple times a week?
Yeah. There just wasn't money, and so
you were doing it.
We're hoping that after the production, when box office speaks, and then we will.
Did the box office speak?
It spoke, but it was it was transportation, fuel.
So the lowest amount is nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It gets that.
Now, on the issue of adaptation versus original screenplay, in Ghana, intellectual property laws are a bit not as boldly enforced as in other jurisdictions. Do you prefer, or how easy is it to be able to do an adaptation of a playwright who's written a play maybe years ago? And do you perhaps choose to rather do originals as against the stress involved in trying to get an adaptation?
I prefer to do originals because for me it's easier to write now than to adapt. Because when we are adapting, we also want to make it original or own it. So we have to rewrite the script again. For instance, we just adapted the Life is a Dream by Pedro from Spain. And it's a play written in 1635. And now you need to adapt it into our current setting and even make it more Afrocentric. So for such a play, you need to rewrite. The book itself is like 150 pages. On stage, you need just 2 hours. Wow. So you need to scale it down
all the way
to like 70 pages. Even the 70 that we performed, people said was too long. And it was, because at least not more than 2 hours. We did like 2 hours, 30 minutes because we couldn't squeeze it further.
Everything in,
So it's difficult adapting for me. But I mean, with regards for the sake of partnership and then resources and then moving global, sometimes you want to adapt now, after the adaptation, the Spanish wants us to perform in Spain.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, we're going to export Ghanaian talent to showcase what we have. You understand? So there are certain positives and benefits that comes with adaptation if you do it right. So I prefer to write original, but there are some positives that will definitely drive you to go in for adaptation.
Now, let me come to you, Prof. As the industry also evolves, and as even generally as the world evolves, a lot more things are moving towards digitalization, and technological advancements in theatre seems to be a bit slower than we expect. As more movies become moving on to streaming platforms, for a lot of productions, when you still go there, please don't record, and you almost never see the videos of it either on streaming platforms, on YouTube, or nothing of that sort. It's sort of you go, you sit, you watch, and then that's about it. Why? Is there a reason why there's not enough advancement towards getting more plays, even at the A4 Sutherland Drama Studios, for instance, being streamed for us who cannot make it to the studio on that particular day, watching it for maybe a small token?
Well, I think we would have to move there eventually, and probably it's already started thanks to COVID. But there is something in live performance that you just can't have with a mediated screen. So live theatre, I think, would survive this technological age, because theatre is a social art, you know, and it's not just about going to see a play. It's a whole event. You know, you interact with people. There's something about stage acting or stage performance that is just unique. So for me, I think that even if we evolved and have recorded versions of plays online and so on, because I remember during COVID, I think Roverman tried that, and you paid a token and you saw some of their shows on screen, but it's not the same. It's not the same. And I think that if theatre on screen, I'd rather watch a movie. A stage play that has been recorded. I'd rather see a movie, because a movie, that's the medium, it's for the screen. You know, but live theatre, I'm sure JT would agree with you.
I have a practical experience.
Okay.
So during COVID, in partnership with the Ministry of Information and Health, we're the first to write a play on COVID-19.
Okay.
And then we streamed it live. It had 3.5 million views on social media, because it was during the lockdown.
Yeah, and everyone wanted to watch it.
Everybody wanted to watch it, and it talks about COVID and so on and so forth.
I'd like to see it.
I'm sure they have the video to play.
Yes.
And we made, you know, fortunately, that was the peak. That was the time we made a lot of money in theatre. During COVID. And so my team were like, if we made money through this medium, why don't we stick to it? Because it's about money, and there's some more. But I was like, it's not about money. Okay, so I think that's the song.
And just to add to you, it's the same feel with football. I mean, today in the age where, you know, we can watch football sitting here on our phones, live match, but go to maybe Manchester United playing another team, and
it's a priceless experience.
You know, they're not sitting by the TV sets; they're still there. That's you know, interaction that you have with audience and performers, you know, and so footballers and the spectators. You can't.
It cannot be imitated. It's original through and through. But then that could be an opportunity to create funding or get another extra source of funding, because I think largely for the theatre arts, lack of funding has generally been seen as a problem to advance a lot of the big ideas people have and want to stage. So would that not be an easier way of just creating money?
Well, it is an alternative. That I think that's what we are all saying. It is an alternative, but it cannot replace life. You know, my in the late 90s, there was this feeling that there were no audiences for theatre. That theatre was dying, and that movies were replacing theatre. You know, so my PhD research was on audiences of live theatre, and what I found was that we have audiences. I mean, Ghanaians love to see theatre. What we didn't have was a regularity of theatres or performances for people to go and see. And I think Roverman and Globe Theatre and all have proven that there is an audience for live theatre in Ghana. So there are some people who, even if it's on screen, they would still prefer to go and see the live event. So I think the more talking about the evolution of theatre, I left this out, that live performances in Ghana, theatre performances in Ghana, are thriving now because we've had a certain sense of stability, political stability, economic stability, even though we've gone off track a bit in recent years. Once that happens, then people have a bit more confidence in going out to see performances, you know. So it cuts across. Once people are able to go out, they will go out and see performances. So
and to add up, I realized that, you know, during COVID we also did a lot more virtual. After we started it, people who have watched our plays before, when we put it on virtual, it's like, but that's not what it is. You know, they know the difference. It's so clear. And I think that it doesn't motivate them enough to watch the screen. Maybe for me, I always say, I told my team that we chalked that successes of 3.5 million because people didn't have an option.
Anything else to do,
There was nothing to do during the lockdown. We were just home. So people were starved with entertainment and people were bored and so on and so forth. So that might contribute to that higher turnout. But currently, if you put a theater performance on screen, trust me, you won't get the numbers.
Now, touching on what Prof just said, theater audiences, which your PhD was done in. Now, the Ghanaian or the average Ghanaian theater consumer, how was Patronage like in Accra? And are you able, and is it easy to move theater out of Accra into other regions? And do we have enough spaces to be able to contain the people that are truly excited about watching theater elsewhere around the country?
For me, I think that for spaces, we don't have enough spaces. People are so much interested in watching theater across the country. We have made it a point that whatever play we do here, we travel across. At least we do Tamale, Kumasi, Takrady, and sometimes Ho.
Okay.
We've been consistent with Kumasi, Takrady.
To hear about Ho.
Yes. we've unfortunately not as consistent as Tamale and Takrady. We've done Ho twice. There is a lot of work before you can succeed. So much. We have to move and stay there for like 2-3 weeks.
Really?
Selling tickets and PR and everything before. Wow. So that's the challenge. That's how come we can do just once a year. Last year, we were in Tamale with the Spanish Embassy with 5 Hours with Mario. It was a full house. But there's lots of work before you can move people to come. And you understand, you can't just go there and then perform into the channel. As for Kumasi, it's the most difficult place.
Really?
Extremely difficult to get people out there. It's very, very difficult. So it takes more. And you know, funny enough, you don't get sponsors when you're moving out of Accra. You get sponsors when you're in Accra.
Accra is Ghana.
So exactly. The only people we love so much is the Tadi people. Oh, they are amazing.
Okay.
They've been there. The last time we had our production in Takrady, 2001, right? It was a full house. We had to do a third show. So we did the first show at 5 p.m., second show at 8 p.m., and then we did a 10 p.m. show.
Wow.
Because people were waiting
Just
to watch the show.
Wow.
Yes, at Best Western. So Takrady, and currently they are in my inbox. They are
Asking for,
Yes, exactly. So for Takrady, it's like we are in a hurry to go. Takrady, Tamale, we are in a hurry to go. Kumasi, we are scared.
Well, traditionally, coastal areas have always been more open to theatre. You know, concert parties started from Takrady, Cape Coast. So I don't know what it is about the Fantis and people, but
they love
the coastal people. But you see, the thing is that the more often you go,
that's the regularity.
The regularity would build an audience.
Yes, exactly.
When people can see what you're doing and they can plan on it.
Exactly.
You know, like Roverman, people say they save towards Roverman because they know that by all means every quarter there's going to be a show. I don't know how regular your shows are.
Every 4 months.
Every 4 months. So once people know that, then they plan for it. You know, so if people know that every October you go to Ho and they've experienced it, then the next time you go, then they're there. So it's a matter of building the audiences. They don't come easily, like you have experienced. You know, it takes work. You know, but once people are aware,
I think the only thing we've done well is for Accra and Takrady. So Takrady, they know every 26th December.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the regularity of it.
It's
It's
But we've not been that good with Tamale and then.
You know, that's one thing I'm really looking forward to in the Ghanaian theatre industry. Like if I go to London tomorrow, I'm sure that I'll get a show
Yes,
to
yes,
see.
yes,
I lost.
yes, yes.
Do you
yes.
see that there are theaters that have a regular schedule
Yeah.
in a lot of cities across the world? We don't have that yet
Yeah.
in Ghana. So somebody will say, "Oh, I have somebody coming to Ghana. Is there anything they can see?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh, you can't really tell."
Yeah,
Do
you
you
can't
see?
really
So,
tell.
so I think when we get there, then you begin to see,
Hopefully.
that the industry is bloom.
Now, let me bring this question to both you, Ajete, and you, Prof. Training.
Yeah.
And then the development of the next generation. As people who are also at the forefront of that, Ajete, you yourself teaching acting, Prof yourself leading the School of Performing Arts, how receptive are the new generation towards pushing, reinventing, maybe creating a new way of theatre arts in Ghana, a new form?
Yeah. Well, I mean, without innovation, you will die.
True.
Yeah. So we always have to be pushing the frontiers. And but for me, at the School of Performing Arts, I think for many years we struggled with the kinds of students we attract. You know, like if we had people like Ajete only in the School of Performing Arts, I'm sure would really be doing something great. But unfortunately, Ghanaians, people just want a degree.
Yes, and it's been seen as a place that you just go pass through and get.
Yeah. But I certainly hope it is
It's
changing.
changing. Yeah. People are actively seeking to come.
Because when Ajete was speaking earlier, he talked about knowing what center right means, knowing how to turn. All those things come through training and understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And that's what training does. You know, so people in the School of Performing Arts, we're not just interested in performing, we're interested in helping students to think about why they do what they do on stage. And that is important for any industry. So understanding the theory behind the practice is always important. And so that's what we seek to do. I, as head of the school, what I'm trying to push for is the kind of students we take in. So we have the opportunity with our Bachelor of Fine Arts program where we actually audition the students.
Wow.
Yeah, so we go through a process. We are not we will not take the highest aggregate, but we would want you to come and demonstrate what you have. And so if we do that properly, we are going to be attracting students who are interested. You know, I'm sad for Abubakar to say he wanted to do medicine, but he was always in the School of Performing Arts. Why didn't he change courses? Do you know what I'm saying?
The parents.
I know. A student comes to me and says, "This is what I really want to do, but my parents don't want me to do it." You see, we need to change that mentality. You know, but then when the industry begins to bloom and people begin to see that, oh, doing the performing arts is not a bad thing, the parents would give their blessings for their kids to do that. There was this brilliant young man. He was a Nigerian. He was doing medicine. He was always in the School of Performing Arts on stage. He went into filmmaking. I don't know if you remember Emeka. I've forgotten his surname right now. There are people like that. You know, I said, these are the kinds of people I want in my School of Performing Arts. Because then they want what you want to give them. But the majority of students, especially in our BA program, are young people who have just been given theatre or dance or music to combine with something else. They're in a hurry to leave. They're not interested in what you're teaching them. And so in the end, many of them don't end up practicing when they go out there. You know, but if we had people who were truly interested, you know, because it takes more than just talent to succeed. They were interested in what we're giving them. They'll take it more.
True.
And it would really help the industry a lot more. So
let me come to you, Ajete, on that.
Yeah, I mean, the other angle to this is that then you have the what's the word? Those who you get a sense of, okay, they're passionate about theatre and all that, but then they don't want to stay in the process because there's so many things that are distracting them. Look at technology today. Everything is quick fix. You know, we're
TikTok,
trying to get
Instagram,
things, and somehow we've imbibed that into the processes, and therefore, even when you know, I have an opportunity, I just want to be quick, be a star immediately, forgetting that there are processes that would bake you. You know, and therefore, when we miss out on that, then you know our performance, our delivery becomes very, very diluted and shallow. And you need to know. And somebody did say that. Look, we love diamonds, but we don't want to dig.
Yes.
Look, you have to dig. You have to stay in the process and know all that it takes to stand in front of the audience, even the audience language. You understand each. Sometimes, look, most of the time when we have scripts, I watch some of my like some of the actors who they switch to page one. Oh, Mary's not here. Then skips to there's Mary.
So
Then
they don't even read
they
the whole
highlight.
thing.
Yes.
They don't read the whole thing.
Forgetting
My
that
goodness.
there are characters here in page 2 where you have no business there, you're not there, but they're saying something about your character, which you need to imbibe into your characterization analysis. And so what we've done, everything should be, and then we miss out on the depth. And that's that. I always appeal to our young people that yes, it's great to be in the front there, but there you have to stay in the process and learn. And I had the opportunity, as I said in the beginning, and then extended it to and of course. Prof here happened to teach me as well. He was the head of my department then as well. And so, like she's saying, we really need to collaborate on that so that we change the face of theatre in Ghana.
I love that. Now, I'll come to government involvement quickly, because if you do a quick check on government promises to the theatre community, you see government to complete 2 theatres in creative industry in 2019. There's NPP promises 1 region, 1 theatre. In 2016, President Mahama promises to build a bigger national theatre in Kumasi. 2017, government pledges to support ailing creative industry, build 3 new plants, and then plans to transform the literary arts industry in Ghana. 2022, someone is saying, but you haven't built the regional theatres. There's so many different promises when it comes to a quick Google search on that. But it seems that a lot of it is empty lip services or empty promises, because a lot of it is promised, but in actual effect, I don't think there's even been a block as of now in every region for theatre. And these are some of the challenges. But what are your thoughts on these? And I'll start with you, Prof, quickly on that, on how there's a lot of exciting promises, especially by governments who either about to take over power or are in power, but are almost never able to fulfill.
Well, I guess it cuts across every sector, doesn't it? But again, the arts particularly are unfortunately always at the bottom of the heap. Let's not go too far about regions. We have a huge theatre complex on campus that was started in 2004. It's still not finished.
Yes. I came into the school. I saw that building, and I've left, and it's still there.
A real eyesore with a hoarding and everything.
Away from it.
And then I've been pushing. It's a Get Fund project. It's been abandoned, in quotation marks. I hope not. We've been pushing. I don't have connections in government to push. It's the university authorities that we are pushing, and I'm glad George Quay there has been pushing a lot. Has been speaking about it. And we launched a fundraising campaign to raise money to fix it, but we didn't get much at all. And so forget about the regions. I mean, how about the School of Performing Arts? We are training
the new
people
the new
for the
generation.
industry. And now you're forced, you come and have students having practical classes under trees at the university in the 21st century Ghana. When it rains, we can't use the drama studio. Classes have to be cancelled. I mean, meanwhile, we are forced to take huge numbers of students. We are losing our international students. It's heartbreaking.
Now, let me come to George, and George has joined us on Zoom. Hello, George. Thank you very much for joining us. I was just asking a question on the promises from government, from places of power that seem to be targeted almost always towards the creative industry, but almost never are fulfilled. Thank you for joining us. Quickly, your thoughts on that, and as well, your solution, if you see any, on the way forward for the theatre arts industry.
Thank you very much, AJ. Good morning to everyone. My apologies for joining in late. You see, the problems with promises, it goes beyond just governments. AJ, even in a world, generally, when you look at the corporate front, if organizations want to cut down budgets, it is our space they look at first. And that is where the mistake begins from. Because anybody, look, there's a reason one of the most popular brands in the world is also the one that advertises the most. That's Coca-Cola. If you look at Coca-Cola's advertising budget in a year, you'd marvel. But this is a company that doesn't even need to advertise at all. I keep telling people, there was a time I visited a village in Morocco. I mean, this is a village somewhere, deep desert village. And there were 2 things that I saw that they are only connected to the rest of the world. A picture of Michael Jackson and Coca-Cola in the fridge.
Wow.
These were the only 2 things that I saw. A picture of Michael Jackson, art, if Michael Jackson was there. That is art right there, you know. But if people want to cut budgets, we're the ones they target first. And it's the same with governments. They'll tell you that needs are endless, resources are always limited, but it's wrong again. My problem is this. You cannot just look at a country like Ghana. You shut down the State House Banquet Hall. The National Theatre is in a terrible state. It needs a lot of attention. The Conference Center building has cracks. That structure there is an accident waiting to happen. But we're building a church. It's painful when you look at it that way. There is an abundant structure sitting at the University of Ghana. I cannot, every time I look at it, I feel like crying. I feel like weeping. And it's sad. It is very sad. So you ask yourself, where does it start from? Where really is the problem? The problem is every single person involved in the value chain. Because you see, if government really wants to solve the problem of unemployment, they should look our way. AJ, this weekend I'm staging a play at the National Theatre. A Detective Calls is rerunning Saturday and Sunday. It's got a cast of 7 on stage, but the people working behind the scenes are almost 70.
Wow.
Each of these 70 people are going to get paid. Let us not even look at those 70 people. Look at the people that are coming to attend. Somebody is going to buy or sew a shirt just because he or she is coming to watch this play. They are going to get into a vehicle. The points where we are selling our tickets, all these Koala and Airport Shell and Nalem and all, somebody goes to Nalem, might want to buy a shirt. What took the person there? It was that theater production. He was going to get a ticket, enter the shop and saw a fine shirt, decided to buy it. So what we contribute to the economy cannot be overemphasized. And it breaks my heart that time and again, governments keep getting it wrong. Look, if I were president today, there are 3 key things that you ought to look at. It is your tourism and creative space. That is tourism, art, and culture should be number 1. Then number 2 should be agriculture. And then number 3 should be your natural resources.
And on that note,
these 3 things working, everything else will fall in place.
Thank you very much for that, George. And truly, I think the creative arts and the tourism space is something that we definitely need to be paying a lot more attention on. But in 30 seconds, literally each, sum up the solution in 1 word. Latif.
I think that, like George said, everybody needs to play a role. But I strongly believe it begins with government. Government must be intentional about supporting the theatre arts, just like Nkrumah was intentional. He set up the Sergeant for Drama Group and was intentional because he made them perform at every place he goes and then almost on any national development issue. So government needs to be intentional about theatre. They need to fix the basic things like infrastructure and then corporate Ghana can come in.
I like that. Ajay, take yourself.
That's like 50 seconds.
In 30.
So I would say for the young generation, let's learn to stay in the process. And I think for the rest of us, let's do a lot more collaboration so that we, we tap on our strengths and see whether we can do these things or not.
But you took the word out of my mouth. I think of collaboration. I think collaboration is very key. Corporate Ghana, people who are interested in the arts. I think we all need to work together to make it work.
We all do. Well, thank you so much for joining me on that. Certainly, we'd have to have a part 2 of this amazing conversation because we've only just scratched the surface. On that. Very shortly, moving to the birthday request, but I was joined by Dean of School of Performing Arts, Professor Awo Mana Siedu, George Quay, who joined us on Zoom, Ajita, and celebrated actor Latif Abubakar, playwright, and the man giving us some exciting plays. Always, at least every quarter. Every 4 months, make a date for that. Now, coming back to you, Roland, on the birthday request.